this couldn't happen again.
Hey guys, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing a Q&A, but I am doing it about books. I got this idea from my friend Angeli. She has an Instagram account on Instagram. It's called Read with Teens, I think. It's a group account with a bunch of her and her friends. And she did it on her personal account with a bunch of questions, and I screenshotted it because I knew I wanted to do it for this video. There are 30 questions. I might add more questions if I think of some, or take some out if I don't like them, but we're going to start. First question says, currently reading. This is the book I'm currently reading. It's called The Summer of Broken Rules. It is about Meredith, who goes to this place every summer, but she didn't go the last summer. Her sister recently died and she's there for her cousin's wedding. They play a game of assassin and then she meets this boy. There's just a lot going on with her ex-boyfriend. She misses her sister, this new guy, the cousins, like drama with the cousins kind of. But yeah, so far I'm actually really liking it. I don't think I've ever liked a guy this much in a book. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but he's really drawing me into him. But I'm really liking it. I'm reading this one, and I'm also reading It Happened One Summer on my phone. I talked about this in my last video, so if you don't want to hear it again, just skip. But it's about a girl who lived in LA and then she got into some trouble, and I'm pretty sure it's her grandfather, sent her to another place where they grew up, but they don't remember being grown up there, just so they could get their lives together. And she meets a fisherman there who she ends up falling for, and then she doesn't want to go back. And I'm actually almost done with that one. I think I'm 81% through. So I'm almost done. I'm liking it so far, but I'm definitely liking this one more. So I'll let you know how those go when I'm done reading them. Next question is the last book I read. Last book I read was People We Meet on Vacation. This book, it took me a while to read because I was in like a slump and I just wasn't reading that much. I ended up reading it because it was summer and I was like, I have to get through this book. I've had it for the longest, so I have to read it finally. And I ended up loving it. I never really read a Friends to Lovers book, and this one I just loved it so much, and I think that might be my favorite trope because they already have so much chemistry, so then when they get in a relationship, it's just so much more. This is basically about two best friends who used to go on vacations every summer, but then something happened that they stopped. They stopped for like 2 years, I think. He's having a wedding somewhere and she decides to reach out to him, and then they go on vacation and they try to work things out. They end up working things out and they are the cutest ever. So yeah, this was the last book I read. Next question says next hopeful, which I don't really know what that means. I think that means like next book that you hope is really good. I'm guessing One True Loves. I'm so excited to read this one. You don't understand. I have been waiting to get this book and I finally have it, and now I just have to wait to read it because I have a bunch of other books I want to read before, but I am dying to read this one. I'm so excited. I hope it ends up being a 5-star for me because every person I've heard talk about this book says that it's good. So I'm really hoping that they're right because I'm so excited for this one. I also talked about this in my last video, so if you want to know what it's about, go to that video, watch. I don't think I'm going to repeat the books I just talked about in my last video. So if you do want to know what it's about, go watch my last video and you will know. Top 3 TBR. Okay, if you saw my last video, you will see how long my TBR list is, and it's way too long. Like, too much is on there. But other than One True Loves, because I'm so excited for this one, other than that one, I do have 3 books that I'm excited to read, and one of them is Serenading Heartbreak. If you saw my last video, I'm just so excited to read this one too. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure it's the back that says my first love was my brother's best friend, my second love was an arrogant baseball player. I think that's just what draws me in. I'm excited for this one. I don't know what it is, but that's basically what it says on the back. I talked about all 3 of these books in my last video, so if you do want to know what it's about, go, because I'm not going to explain it again. The other 2 are Verity, which everyone says that this is one of Colleen Hoover's best books because she doesn't write thrillers, and this is more of a thriller, and so everyone says this is one of her best books, so I'm excited to read this one. And then I'm excited to read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo because everyone loves this book and I'm just scared if I'm not gonna like it or I am gonna like it, so I'm excited to read this one and see my opinion on it. Next question says favorite genre. I think we know it's romance. I wish I wouldn't sound basic saying romance, but I honestly don't think I could get into any other reading. Maybe thrillers, but I would have to get through my long TBR list of romance first, then get to thriller. Next question says favorite book cover. Okay, I have a lot of favorite book covers. I have the Unhoneymooners. I don't have the physical book because that was in my time when I was only reading on my phone. So the Unhoneymooners, love the covers, super cute. Also, fine print, terms and conditions. I think the cover is so cool. It's like kind of plain, but it's just so cool. And then also Summer Broken Rules, which is the book I'm reading now. The cover is really soft, but it's also so pretty, like hello. And then also People Meet on Vacation. It's not the prettiest cover, but I was telling Marcella how these characters that are here on the cover, they are exactly what I pictured for Poppy and Alex. Like, just look at them. Like, that's so Poppy, that's so Alex, and it's just so perfect. Like, they look exactly what I pictured they would look like. So I guess that's why it's one of my favorite book covers. Next question is favorite series, and I haven't read that many series. I've only read Briar You, which is what I'm wearing right now. A duology, which I don't know if that counts, Full Tilt All In. And then I have read Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, waiting for the third book to come out. The Summer I Turned Pretty series, and those are the only ones I've read. But my favorite one has to be Briar You. Like, I read it last summer and I was so obsessed with every single book. There was just something different every single book that I loved. And clearly I loved it so much that I got myself this. First I got this for Marcella for her birthday, and then I was like, wait, I kind of want one. So then I got one for myself. Yeah, that's literally my favorite series. If you guys don't know about Briar You, basically it is a series where it's 4 different hockey players. They're all best friends. It's 4 books, and then there's another 4 books that kind of connect with them, that they're also 4 hockey players. They're just not best friends. These 4, they're best friends. Garrett, Logan, Tucker, and Dean. They're all best friends, and in every book it's a different girl. I'm obsessed with every single book. If you haven't read it yet, I really suggest reading it. They are the best series of books I've read. Literally all of them are either 4 or 4.5 stars. Really, I will show you the screenshot. I'll put it on the screen, just because they were literally all so good. Like, not one was bad, and they're all like different in their own way, so it's not like you're reading the same thing again, like hockey player with a girl. Like, they're all very different. Next question is comfort author. I think I'm gonna have to say Emily Henry. I feel like, because Colleen Hoover would just be a basic answer, but I wouldn't really say she's my comfort author. Like, she is my favorite author because I've read most of her books, and all her books to me are really good. But Emily Henry, I just loved her writing in People We Meet on Vacation and Beach Read, that I'm excited to read Book Lovers to see if I also like that book. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say Emily Henry. Next question says book I will always recommend. A book I will always recommend is definitely Full Tilt. I recommended the book to Marcella. I read it before Marcella, which is a shocker. It's weird to say that I read a book before Marcella did. I had been begging Marcella to read this book because it is my favorite book ever. I gave it a 5-star, cried, sobbed actually while reading it, and I was like, Marcella, you have to read this book. Like, what are you doing with your life? And she read it recently, also sobbed. But yeah, I'm so that book is literally one of the best books ever. So basically, Full Tilt is about a girl named Casey. She's in a band, but she's going through things with her family, and she's just like a mess right now. And she ends up getting like really messed up one night, and she ends up on her limo driver's couch, which is Jonah. And Jonah has a few more months to live. Not a spoiler, by the way. He has a few more months to live. They end up falling for each other, and then obviously he's like, you can't do this, because if I'm gonna be gone, then I'm just, you know, he doesn't say like leading on, but that's what it feels like, because he's gonna be gone in a while. But she's like, no, like, let me in, because he doesn't really let anyone in anymore because he doesn't want to get them hurt. They end up falling for each other, and then when the time comes, yeah, it's just it is a sad book, so I guess if you don't like reading sad books, then don't read it. But I don't know why I loved the book so much. So if you haven't read Full Tilt, please read it. And then the second book is All In. That book did not beat Full Tilt, but it was still really good. Kind of weird, like a little. but it was still really good. A trope you love. Like I said earlier, I think I'm gonna have to say Friends to Lovers. The only Friends to Lovers book I've read, I think, is People We Meet on Vacation. I think this is the only Friends to Lovers books I've read, which doesn't sound right. I think I've read another one. This was another sort of Friends to Lovers book I read. They had an initial attraction to each other, but they were like, oh, let's just stay friends, and they ended up staying friends, but soon after they realized they couldn't just only stay friends, so then they became more. Friends to Lovers books, I think, are so underrated. I think everyone always likes, oh, enemies to lovers, childhood best friends to lovers is cute. That is another one of my favorites, I will say. That's like second, because Love in Other Words was childhood best friends to like enemies to lovers, but I love the childhood best friend dynamic because it's like you guys already know each other, so it's kind of like Friends to Lovers just from your childhood. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Friends to Lovers. Trope I hate. I don't really have a trope that I hate, to be honest. I still do like enemies to lovers because it's just like, were you really enemies? I don't know. I don't really have a trope that I hate. Favorite book of the year. I have read 11 books this year so far, which is a little bit for most people, but for me, that's a lot considering we've been only through 6 months, 6.5. So for me, it's a lot, don't judge. But my favorite book of this year, it would have to be Terms and Conditions. Terms and Conditions is the only book I've given 5-star this year. Basically, it's a trilogy, but the third book hasn't come out yet. I'm waiting for that one. The first book is The Fine Print. It's basically about these brothers that their grandfather has passed away, and he gave the 3 of them a letter and something to do for Dreamland, which is basically Disneyland, but it's called Dreamland in the book, and he gave the 3 of them a job. So in the first book, Zara works at like the hair salon. Like if you've ever been to Disney, you know the little kids go and they get like all dressed up looking like princesses, and they do your hair and your makeup, whatever. That's where Zara works in the first book. Iris, that's one thing of the book that I really didn't like, her name. Iris, like I really just didn't like it. But anyway, she worked in the place, I believe, and she always wanted to be a part of this like big part of the company, and then Declan was already part of the big part of the company. And so she was like, how does this guy get to come in and come above me when I've been here waiting? There's just a lot of stuff that happens between them. This one is kind of enemies to lovers, sort of. But yeah, I just don't know how to explain this book because there's so much. They work together, and then she has to draw to like show ideas for Dreamland, but she doesn't know how to draw, and he's like, wow, this girl needs help. And then he ends up faking being a person, and then they get in a fight later on because she's like, you didn't even tell me you were this person. There's just a ton of stuff that goes